Once again, it's on. You know what time it is. It's time to play some toss. Welcome, everyone, to episode 73 of the Tristain Sports Show Toss. It is your main man, T-Square, Tristain Thomas. Thank you all so very much for joining us this week. What's going down? We got to talk the Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks at the half. How are they? What do I need from them going forward as they finish up the season? We got to check in with the Badgers and the Golden Eagles, both the men's and women's team. It's almost March Madness time, y'all. Championship Judgment Week this week. We got to check in with them. The Green Bay Packers refuse to use the franchise tag, so what does that mean for personnel moving forward? And then the toss sweep, we got to talk about a guy getting paid and a guy who may have just fumbled his bag, but it seems to be pretty much on brand. But you all know how we get things started here on Toss. We get things started with the state of the state, and let's get to those aforementioned Milwaukee Bucks. The All-Star game is over. As you all know, I feel that the All-Star game should not have been played. They should have just named All-Stars, gave them jerseys, gave them all the rights and privileges that came along with being an All-Star. If a guy has something in his contract, a clause that he becomes an All-Star, he gets X amount of dollars, he should be able to receive that. To put on the game and all of the usual All-Star Saturday night events during the All-Star game on Sunday, both before the game and a halftime of the game, was a risky move by the NBA. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons ended up being pulled from that game because they came in close contact with a barber that had COVID-19. So now not only did they miss the All-Star game, but they're probably going to miss their first 1 to 2 games after the All-Star break for the 76ers. They're currently number 1 in the East, so it could be damaging. They're not that far ahead of the Brooklyn Nets. And now you're going to be missing both of those guys. But the game was played. And nobody played the game better than Giannis. 35 points. A record 16 for 16 from the field. He is the highest points per game average scorer in NBA All-Star history. He was named the All-Star Game MVP, the Kobe Bryant All-Star MVP Award. Congratulations to him. Now that those festivities are over, the Bucks are truly at the half. Literally at the half. A 72-game season this year. They've played 36 of those ball games. They have 36 remaining. They will resume play on Thursday night. 22-14 at the half, third in the Eastern Conference. And for all of their consistency issues, they're still top tier in the Eastern Conference. For that, you have to be impressed with them. The roster overturn, and we've been through this, and I've said this before on multiple episodes of Toss. You know about how short the offseason was. You know about the fact they had no preseason games to gel. You know they've had injury issues. The roster overturn. Mike Budenholzer trying different rotations, different things on offense, different things on defense. The team is still learning and growing. And to be sitting there at 22-14, third in the Eastern Conference, you have to be pleased with that, but you also have to have an eyebrow raised because you feel as if this team could get better and could play better. And if anything, that should encourage you. Drew Holiday was out for 10 games, battling COVID-19. He comes back. And once he gets back to 100%, once he gets those game legs underneath him, once he gets that game win back, and you're hoping he's able to do that because COVID is no joke. You have a lot of long haulers out there, and they'll tell you they still have breathing issues, multiple issues that they still fight through. Our good friend, Professor P, still deals with issues from COVID-19. He is a long hauler. It is no joke. But once he gets back to himself, Once this team gets more consistency with rotations, once Budenholzer realizes that certain guys should not be getting the time, and you hope that sooner rather than later, because you are now in the second half of the season, 36 games remaining, you're assured of nothing. It takes one terrible losing streak to slide you down from third into that 7 range. Just one terrible losing streak. That's all it takes. And let one of those teams underneath you get hot. Now you're sliding down the standings. Now you're going to have to go and fight for your playoff spot in that play-in tournament, in which the 7th through 10th seed of each conference is going to play for a playoff spot. You want to avoid that at all costs. Now, I'm not sitting here bringing doom and gloom to all of you. I'm just telling you how it is. I'm telling you some things that I have seen happen before. At one point, many moons ago, the Bucks were the top team in the East. And then they went on this otherworldly slide. And they went from being number 1 in the East to being completely out of the playoffs. Did not even qualify for the playoffs. And this wasn't some, oh, well, they're 5-1. They're tops in the... No, they were tops in the East for almost the first half of the season. And then went on just a tremendous otherworldly slide and lost their way out of the playoffs. So these things can happen. These things do happen. You don't want them to happen. The automatic dominance that we've seen over the past couple of seasons for the Milwaukee Bucks is over. That's done. It's not a plug and play type thing. It's not I'm going to turn on the Bucks and I'm going to watch them. And I pretty much know it's going to be a win. More times than not, I know it's going to be a win. That automatic dominance is over. And it's real easy for me to say automatic dominance. It takes tremendous amount of work from those players going out there, installing a game plan, executing the game plan. So I don't want to diminish what they do. Their dominance was historic. They were putting up historic numbers. You wish they would have gotten a championship out of those 2 seasons, but they did not. That's how good they were. They are not on that level this season. But again, it's okay because you see encouraging signs that they can get better. But there is a difference between you can get better and actually getting better. The Bucks need to actually get better. Yes, 22-14. Yes, 3rd in the Eastern Conference currently. But you have to realize that potential of you being better. That means players have to execute better. That means that the availability of certain players has to be better. The rotations of players has to be better. Mike Budenholzer. Game plans have to be better. Mike Budenholzer. The execution of said game plans need to be better. The players. You need to be a balanced ball club. You need to be able to get everything you could handle out of the starters, but you also need the bench to be able to come in and not just hold on to a lead, but to expand the lead. That's one thing that made the Bucks so great the first 2 seasons underneath Mike Budenholzer. That's one thing that has not really happened on a consistent basis this season. Which is really a big point for me. You must find good consistency and balance. Have the starters go out there and be the starters. You know what you're going to get out of Giannis. You know what you're going to get out of Chris Middleton. You know what Drew Holiday brings to the table. Can Brook find a little bit of himself from the first 2 seasons underneath Mike Budenholzer? Can he do that? The bench, you need to tighten up that rotation. You need to give certain guys some time. Torrey Craig should be playing a hell of a lot more time than what he has been playing. You want to preach defense, that is a guy who is an elite defender. He needs to see the court more. You know what you're going to get out of Brent Forbes? You like what Bobby Portis is bringing to the table this season? Are you getting as much out of Thanasis than what you thought? Are you getting enough out of him? Same with Pat Connaughton. Are you getting what you need to out of him? Should that time be divided and split up to other players? What about the rookies? Warren Merrill. Those guys can shoot. You must find good consistency and balance. And it's going to take everybody for that to happen. Bucks 22-14. First half of the season. Second half begins Thursday. We shall see. We shall see. Continuing on Toss State of the State. We got to go to college. We have to check in, and I mentioned it on last week's episode that we're going to check in with the Badgers and the Golden Eagles. So let's do that right now because we are in the month of March. And you know what that means. The madness is coming. The NCAA tournament begins next week. It is championship week this week, judgment week. Teams trying to make their case. Teams trying to win their conference tournaments to go to Indianapolis, where they're going to have a bubble-like environment for the entire NCAA tournament. It's truly going to be madness. Let's check out the women first. Ladies first. Badgers women, they're really not going anywhere. It's been a rough year for them. 5-19 overall, 2-18 in conference play. Ouch. Ouch, 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 ouch. That's all you can say about that. Brutal year. They're not going anywhere. Try again next year. The Marquette women, the Marquette Golden Eagles women, lost to the 1 seed UConn Huskies. Congratulations to them in the Big East tournament final. Yeah, 1 seed. The Marquette Golden Eagle women team was the 2 seed. Hell of a year by them. UConn is just a juggernaut. I mean, it's just a really, really good squad. Marquette women, they have solidified themselves in the field. They're going to make the tournament. They didn't even need to win the Big East tournament to do so. That just would have been an automatic bid. The work that they did, the fact they went 19-6, they were 14-4 in the conference. They had a spot locked up when they even walked, just before they even started the Big East tournament. They had that locked up. So hell of a year for them. That will continue. They'll go on to the NCAA tournament. I have no question about that, no doubts about that. Let's check the men. Wisconsin Badger men. If you saw what happened on Sunday, I mean, it was just, Big Ten officiating continues to find new ways of being just absolutely atrocious, no matter what the sport is. I'll leave it at that. Greg Gard has said far more in a far more eloquent way than I ever will be able to here on Toss. So I will just leave it at that. Now, the Badger men, 16-11 overall, 10-10 in the conference. Now, they've had a really up and down year. But the rule for me, and this has just been the rule for me, and apparently it's been the rule for the committee when it comes to the Big Ten. If you are 500 overall and you win double-digit games in the Big Ten, chances are you're going to make the tournament. Badgers, 16-11 overall, 10-10 within the conference. They are going to make the tournament, in my opinion. They will make the tournament. Again, If you're over 500 overall and you win double-digit games in the Big Ten, chances are you're going to the tournament. The Big Ten was really good this year. You got Michigan. You got Illinois. You got Iowa. You got Ohio State. All really good tens. All really good teams in the Big Ten. Bolstered the conference up. Big Ten really has a good shot at getting about 9 teams in. And again, with you being 500 overall, and you win double-digit games within the conference, within the Big Ten conference, you're probably going to make the tournament. So with Rutgers being over 500 and also going 10-10 within the conference, they will probably make the tournament. Now, I think that both the Badgers and a team like Rutgers will need to win a game, maybe 2, just to kind of solidify it. But I think they're firmly into it. I don't think they're sitting on any type of bubble. I think they are firmly into the tournament field. But we will find out on Selection Sunday. Up and down year for them, but hey, look, they could go ahead and win the Big Ten conference tournament. That's a possibility too. Automatic bid, won't even need to sit there and sweat it out on Selection Sunday for an at-large. I don't foresee them doing it. I don't see them beating a Michigan. I don't see them beating an Illinois. I don't see them beating an Iowa or even Ohio State. Not with the way they've been up and down. And when you just don't know what you're going to get out of them consistently. They'll beat a couple of the lower-end teams in the Big Ten tournament, whoever they're matched up against. But I don't foresee them pulling any kind of real huge upsets. I could be wrong. Again, that's why they call it March Madness. It doesn't just start in the NCAA tournament. It starts in the conference tournaments. Up and down year for them, so we'll see how they do in the Big Ten tournament, but I think they are firmly in the field. I really do think so. The Marquette men, Golden Eagles. Oh, my goodness. Talk about another rough year. 13-13 overall, 8-11 in the Big East Conference. Their only hope to make it into this tournament field is winning the whole damn thing. They have to win the Big East Conference tournament. They got to do it. They have to win that conference tournament. That is their only way in. There is no way at 13-13 and under 500 within the conference are you building a resume that is strong enough to get you into the field as an at-large. That resume does not hold up. No way. Your only chance is to run through the tournament, get hot, run through the tournament, win it, and get that automatic bid. I don't foresee that happening. I do not see that happening at all. It's possible they'll lose in their first round game against Georgetown in the Big East Conference tournament. It's possible that they lose their first game, and then that's pretty much the end of their season. Really rough year. I just feel that Wojo has really taken a couple steps back. And look, I know you lost some players from last season's team. You know, you lose a guy like Marcus Howard. Big time scorer. But this team should be more than about one guy. Really rough year. He's taken a couple steps back. And I mean, you hope maybe it's just a 1 year regression. They come back next season. But the question is, does he come back next season? Is he going to be allowed to come back next season? So a lot of questions there, but their only chance of making the field is winning the Big East tournament. And I'm going to be honest with you, I do not foresee that happening. So a couple of rough years for some of the college teams in the state of Wisconsin, but a couple of teams that I feel are firmly in the field, both on the men's and women's side. So rough year, but a better year for some. You just got to love the madness is coming. I hope everybody stays safe within that bubble environment, but the madness is coming. Continuing on State of the State here on Toss, we have to move on to Lambeau Field and the Green Bay Packers, and we have to talk more personnel. I mean, the offseason is in full swings. Is in full swing. As I said last week on Toss and discussed a little bit about, the Packers are not a team that really like to use a franchise tag. The deadline for using a franchise tag was this week. And once again, the Green Bay Packers will not utilize that tool. Therefore, guys like Aaron Jones and Corey Linsley and Jamal Williams are now free agents because the Packers are not going to use their franchise tag on any of those players. The last time the Packers used the franchise tag was on Ryan Pickett, defensive tackle, and a guy who does not really get enough credit for how good he was, especially for that Super Bowl team, the picket fence. I mean, he took on multiple blockers, 2-3 blockers at times, and allowed other guys to eat. You know, he was down there doing a lot of the dirty work so other guys could have the glory. Got signed at the same time that Charles Woodson did. People tend to forget that. Really good signing. But that was the last time that the Packers used the franchise tag. It's just simply not a tool that they utilize. Now, Brian Gutekunst, Packers general manager, came out and said that, well, it's not intentional that they don't use the tag. Well, it kind of seems that way when you haven't used it in more than a decade. Which would be completely fine because it means that you're trying to work on long-term deals with players. Because, look, the couple of players that I have spoken with in my time of doing this will tell you they hate the tag. They hate the franchise tag because it does not provide any long-term stability for them. They hate it. And it's also used as a means of control. It does not give any power to the players. If a player wants to go out there and test free agency and the franchise comes out and says, you know what? Nope, we're going to tag you. Players have the right to not sign that tag, but then you're causing a lot of problems. Players cannot stand the tag. So the Packers not using the tag, great if you have the money, but that's the problem. The Packers are broke right now. They are still over the cap. Now, a little bit of cap news. Devin Funchess, wide receiver who opted out last season because of COVID-19, who can blame him, gave back $750,000 of his contract to remain with the Green Bay Packers. So that's a guy who I thought for sure was going to get cut. And I think many other people were thinking, okay, he's definitely going to get cut. He opted out. You're not going to hold him opting out against him. But, you went back to the NFC Championship game. You were 13-3 again. Do you really need him? Cut him. Everybody kind of thought that was the way that Goot was going to go. But it's not. Instead, he's going to be here, apparently. That helps you just a smidgen. But overall, the Packers are still over the cap. So if you choose not to utilize a franchise tag and you choose to negotiate in good faith with these players with long-term deals in mind, it's great if you have the money to do so. The Packers don't have the money to do so, which is why this move to not use the franchise tag has come under more scrutiny this offseason. Because the Packers don't have the capital to utilize to sign these players long-term. There's still a lot of cap work to be done. They've made some releases of players. They've restructured some players' contracts. Players have handed money back. But they still have a lot of work to do. Now, a guy like Jones, and I said this last week on Toss, and I'll say it again right here. Aaron Jones has played himself into a contract that the Green Bay Packers cannot afford. Now, it's been reported that they will continue to work with Aaron Jones. The Packers will on a long-term deal. But remember, Aaron Jones fired his prior representation, has now hired Drew Rosenhaus, the Shark, as his agent. And Rosenhaus is trying to get all the coins. He's trying to get all the coins. He is the NFL Scott Boras. He's trying to get all the money. And I'm not going to sit here and hate on Aaron Jones. Look, go and get your coins, young man. You earned it. You played yourself into that stratosphere of a big-time contract. On the flip side, what gives you maybe a smidgen of hope is the fact that, yes, the salary cap went up, but with these COVID-restricted times, how much more over market value, if any, are teams going to be willing to go to sign a player of that caliber? I think it's a legitimate question. I think it's a big question that teams are going to have to answer. Aaron Jones is going to get paid. Whether it's Green Bay or elsewhere, he's going to get paid because he's played himself into that kind of a contract. As much as I would like to have him back, you have to look at what you have in-house under contract. Now, Jamal Williams is really not in-house. He's not under contract. He's also a free agent. So you don't even know if you're going to be able to bring him back. Now, I can tell you you're going to be able to bring him back on a much more friendly deal because nobody's looking at him the same way they're looking at Aaron Jones, even though he is a good back. But he hasn't had to carry the mail, and he hasn't been put in a position as Aaron Jones has. He had those few starts when Aaron Jones was out, and they were good. He's been a great number 2. Can he carry the mail for you constantly? And then again, even if they do re-sign him, and I'm talking Jamal Williams, and let Aaron Jones walk and go get his coins elsewhere, I still don't think that Jamal Williams is going to be the primary back. I think the whole reason why they drafted A.J. the Sauce Dillon, I love saying that name, man, A.J. the Sauce Dillon. The whole reason why they drafted him last season, when everybody felt that he should have taken a wide receiver, and I'll admit, my eyebrows were raised, not because I thought that A.J. Dillon was a terrible player. I saw him play at BC. I knew what he could bring to the table. That is the type of running back you want late in the season, cold weather, bowling ball or butcher knives. Nobody wants to tackle that guy. And we saw that in that Titans game when he ran all over Tennessee. But the whole reason why my eyebrow was raised is because, well, second round, you got Aaron Jones already. You got Jamal Williams. Now you're going to add a third back to the rotation. Are they sure they want to do this? Are you sure you don't want to go and at least look at a wide receiver or look at a linebacker? I mean, are you sure you don't want to go elsewhere? Well, it's because I didn't think A.J. Dillon couldn't play. I knew Guy could play. It's because of what you had in-house. And then I sat down and thought about it. And I said it on Toss. They're probably anticipating that they're not going to be able to retain Williams or Jones or both. And you got somebody that's a rookie who's on a rookie deal. He's going to come a lot cheaper than Jones or Williams will. If he can prove that he can carry the mail, then you can go ahead and make this guy your bell cow. He can carry that mail. So if Jones walks, as much as it would hurt me because I love the guy, but he's played himself into a contract that Green Bay just cannot afford. And it's not an animosity thing. It's not a sour grapes thing or anything like that. There's no animosity between the two parties. It's just that he's outperformed what his current team can pay him. That's the business side of the NFL, folks. It just happens. If you can get Jamal Williams back, you pair him up with A.J. Dillon, I think you can roll with that through next season. I think that would be okay. You got a good 2-back rotation. I think you're good with that. I think that is more than workable. For me, The bigger loss, and again, not poo-pooing what Aaron Jones has done. We'll love to have him back. The more concerning loss for me would be, or should I say, will be Corey Linsley. You're talking quite possibly the best center in football. That is not a plug-and-play position. It really is not. You've had success being able to move guys along the line except at center. He's been there. He's been reliable. He makes the calls. He's got the chemistry with Rodgers. He understands the cadence, the snap counts, the blocking schemes. That center position is very, very vital. It is just like the battery in baseball between pitcher and catcher. That is the battery of offense, center and quarterback. You have to find some way to keep that combination together. But again, it may be the same situation as Jones. Linsley may very well have played himself into a contract that the Packers just cannot afford. So Goots got his work cut out for him. It's not a thing of, well, we may have to do a little bit of cap work in order to make these moves. No, you need to do cap work just to get underneath the cap. You have no choice but to make decisions and moves that get you underneath the cap. It's going to be hard, and it's going to be tough, and there's some pain coming. People are going to feel some type of way about it, but it's just the way it goes. And that's the state of the state. The Bucks getting ready to start the second half. We need to see good consistency and balance. The Badgers and Golden Eagles, March Madness is about to begin. Badger men will make it. Marquette women will make it. Not so much for the Marquette men and not so much for the Badger women. And the Packers, they will not use the franchise tag on Aaron Jones or Corey Linsley or Jamal Williams. It's a good chance you'll lose all three just because you cannot pay them all. Goots got his work cut out for him. It's time for us to run the tall sweep. The Tall Sweep, brought to you by the good folks over at tossnationmedia.com. Toss Nation Media, your home for the Toss brand of sports, truthful, opinionated, passionate sports. That's what you deserve. Dak Prescott, man, you've all probably have heard by now. Ooh, let me hold $1 because homie got paid. Now, I've been a big advocate for just going ahead and paying him his money. Just run him his money, give him his coins, because you see how trash your team actually is without him. It took him having a season-ending broken leg and an absolute just tailspin the rest of the season for you to see his value. Crazy how that works out, right? Dak got paid 4 years, $160 million. $126 million of that contract is guaranteed with a record $66 million signing bonus. I think he's slated to make something in the neighborhood of, what was it, like $75 million within the first 1 or 2 years of the contract. These are insane numbers, far more than I thought he would be getting paid. But we all know, we've all heard the stories. This is how much he was trying to push for, and Jerry gave it to him. I mean, if you look at that 4 years, 160, I mean, that's an average of $40 million per year. That's the range he was going into. And I remember everybody kind of scoffed at it. And even I looked at it like $40 million for Dak. I'm like, I think Dak is okay, but $40 million? Like, what? You are whatever your franchise says you're worth. And if you can go and get more from a different team, then that's how much you're worth. But it took him getting hurt and the Cowboys going in an absolute tailspin for them to really see his value. Now, Dak seems to be a good dude. I was absolutely heartbroken that he got hurt because he was really having an MVP caliber season. And the Cowboys were looking pretty potent offensively. Defensively was a completely different story. And somehow, some way, through most of the season, because of how atrocious the NFC least was, they still had a shot at a division crown. Can we hope that division gets better this year? Can we get a good NFC East? I think it's safe to say that if the Cowboys come back, Dak Prescott comes back healthy, they figure some things out on defense, they could be the class of that division, but, it's way too early to say any of that. But you got to be happy for Dak, man. Like I said, he got hurt. He was having one hell of a season before he did get hurt. But it took him getting hurt and the Cowboys going in just a horrible, horrible slump. Tailspin. Wrecked the rest of their season. Ezekiel Elliott wasn't even the same. They were using more Tony Pollard than they were Ezekiel Elliott. Dak Prescott's loss affected everything on that team. It affected everything on that team. So they saw that, they recognized that, and they got that man paid. And it's about damn time. Regardless of how you feel about the numbers, there is no question that Dak deserved a long-term deal. He has been one of the few constants on that team, year in and year out, since he's been there. You want premium services, you need to pay a premium price, and that's what they did finally. Now, we talk about being happy that one guy got paid. Let's talk about somebody fumbling their bag because they can't keep their disgusting mouths shut and not say something stupid. Myers Leonard, with some wonderful, wonderful anti-Semitic comment or anti-Semitic word, which I've heard, and I've seen the tape, seen the footage, heard it as well. I don't know if y'all know this about me, but I have an eclectic group of friends, right? My two best friends since I was 14 years old, still friends to this day. One's Mexican and white. One is from India. He's Punjabi. And another is of the Jewish faith. And to hear some of the stories about some of the slurs hurled, for a minute, can you just imagine that group though? Jewish man, Mexican, white, American, Indian, black man. Trust us, we got all the looks in the world when we came stepping through wherever we were. Restaurants, movies, bars, we always got all the looks. But to hear those stories and hear different slurs hurled at us because of our heritage, our cultures, it's crazy. And you will hear words like, wait a minute, what? I've never heard that before. And then you just go and you start educating yourself over it. You just start educating yourself. You start reading, you just start learning. Like, man, that's really messed up. You become more aware of things in the world. I think everybody should do that so they have more empathy and understand each other a little bit more. Myers Leonard is a guy who decided to stand during the national anthem when the rest of his Heat teammates kneeled during the national anthem to protest racial injustice, inequities and inequalities and police brutality. And he came out with the whole spiel about, oh, well, I'm going to stand up because I got military members. Well, my father was a Navy SEAL. He was a guy that believed that the national anthem should not be played before sporting events because it has no place in that. There's no reason for that. The only place that should be played is at the Olympics during medal ceremonies. Why is there a need to do that before every single event? He's a man that fought for this country, but understood that he was still a black man. And even though he fought for this country, that this country still did not treat him with equality and equity. And if he were alive to this day, he would have kneeled too. But Myers Leonard did not, and that was his choice. And I'm not trying to vilify him for doing that, but I will tell you this, the optics of it and his lame excuse really make it seem as if, you say you support your brothers, quote unquote, but you can't support them in doing this. Like you can't. I mean, again, it's his choice, but it also brings about questions. So people have that filed away about him. They've been watching his actions. He was on his stream, live stream. Now you're an NBA player with the gaming sponsorship. On a live stream, you set up yourself and you decide to use anti-Semitic language on a live feed. You set up yourself. And the way he got that phone call and the way he cut out of that stream so fast, try to claim that he was his wife. Oh, my wife needs me. I got to go. No, homie, that was somebody else. That might have been an agent. That might have been somebody on your team. Somebody else other than your wife called you after you used that language on that stream. Now, I already had predictions about his apology. There's a thing floating out there, the apologist bingo card, using key phrases like, oh, this isn't me. Oh, I'll be better. I have to educate myself. I'm sorry if I hurt you, all this and that. And it's every single lame excuse in the book, every single piece of a lame ass apology on one bingo card. How many of these phrases did he use? Well, he finally, and before we even get, because I'm going to read his lame ass apology, but the Miami Heat have already said that he's going to be away from the team indefinitely. So Miami is literally trying to take the heat off of Myers Leonard. Here's his apology. Quote, and this is from Myers Leonard, quote, I am deeply sorry for using an anti-Semitic slur during a live stream yesterday. While I didn't know what the word meant at the time, my ignorance about its history and how offensive it is to the Jewish community is absolutely not an excuse. And I was just wrong. I am now more aware of its meaning, and I am committed to properly seeking out people who can help educate me about this type of hate and how we can fight it. I acknowledge and own my mistake, and there's no running from something like this that is so hurtful to someone else. This is not a proper representation of who I am, and I want to apologize to the Arisons, team owners, my teammates, coaches, front office, and everyone associated with the Miami Heat organization, to my family, to our loyal fans, and to others in the Jewish community who I have hurt. I promise to do better and know that my future actions will be more powerful than my use of this word. No, that now make of that what you will. If somebody can go ahead and find that bingo card and start using their dauber and filling those out, I guarantee you got bingo, because he used all those lame ass phrases within that apology. Remember what I said before I read that. This is a guy who decided, I'm going to stand during the national anthem, which is completely his choice. But the optics of it makes you believe that he doesn't truly understand what this fight is and why his teammates were kneeling. Had nothing to do with a piece of cloth, had nothing to do with a Stars and Stripes flag, had everything to do with the fact that that flag is not representing what this country is supposed to be, a country of equality and equity and justice. He decided that after the many years that athletes have been doing this and the countless explanations of why we're kneeling, and the very fact that a Green Beret is the one who suggested to Colin Kaepernick that maybe you should kneel because sitting is more disrespectful than kneeling. It shows that you're acknowledging the flag and the national anthem, but that you also have a problem with this country that you want to bring attention to and should be rectified. Despite all of that education out there, he decided to ignore it and still make it about the flag and a song. But now he claims that he's going to educate himself on the use of that anti-Semitic slur and the hatred towards the Jewish community. When you had all that free education out there about why Black people were kneeling during the national anthem, and you decided not to take it, even though most of your teammates are Black? I have very little faith that he's truly going to learn anything from this. If he is going to learn anything from it, it's because his bag is now in danger. Now, let's be real about it. Let's really break it down all the way and keep it all the way 100. Let's really keep it truthful, opinionated, and passionate here, because that's what we do on Toss. He's a white guy. He's going to land on his feet. Now, yes, he lost a gaming sponsorship. The team has said he's going to be away from them indefinitely. There were already rumors that he may possibly be getting traded, and one of the teams that are there is the Jazz. And we all know how Utah has had its problems with racism. That's a different story for a different day. He couldn't educate himself about why his teammates and so many others were kneeling during the national anthem. What that was actually about. Years worth of education out there. And he decided not to take it. So what makes you believe that myself and many others believe that you're going to actually educate yourself about this? Truth is, I don't. Truth is, I don't. The word he used was vile. It was disgusting. And it seems to be pretty much on brand for what he has presented, despite his words saying that it is not a true representation of him. He's habitually done something along these lines. And it's time he faces the consequences for that, whatever they may be. Well, y'all, that'll do it for me. That was episode 73 of Toss, Tristain on Sports Show. Y'all know where to find me on social media at D20double, the word double at the end of the letters. The number is 2 and the 0. I just confused the hell out of y'all, but it's okay. At D20double on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook.com/T on Sports Show is your home for the Tristain on Sports Show on Facebook. Talk about a lot of things there that we don't get a chance to on the show. That's Facebook.com/T on Sports Show. And of course, TossNationMedia.com, your home for the Toss brand of sports. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports. It's what you deserve. But as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This is T Squared, Tristan Thomas, reminding all of you to keep it moving forward. Always forward. Forward always. Until next week. So long from Toss.